Alright, so today I wanted to talk about this video that came up on my feed. It is called 1 year of weightlifting but still no gains. And this is actually something I can really strongly empathize with. When I really started out lifting, I saw very little change for the first couple of years, in part because I was not really following a very well-structured program. So it is a very common issue that can happen to a lot of folks, and I would like to see what's going on in this case. So I will react to this video as I watch it.
I've been at this for a while now, and I don't look that different. I kind of had different expectations, but for some reason, sold on my stuff yet. I expected my confidence would only increase once I saw substantial physical change, but to my surprise, it's not muscle growth that's killing off my insecurity. It's the routine.
I think this is very true. When I first started out, I was 140 pounds. I looked a lot like this guy. I think I trained very hard for a couple of years, and really the only difference that I saw was that I noticed that I had visible triceps for the first time, and zero other change. Like, I was doing tough workouts. I was really pushing myself in the gym. I was getting so sore, like way more sore than I've ever been since, because I was just doing a random mishmash of stuff. And, I saw almost no changes. But he is right already that, when you start to go to the gym, the thing that happened for me is that I was in a very anxious and depressed place. I didn't have much in the way of a routine or a schedule in terms of my life, aside from just going to school and then just doing whatever random stuff I felt like doing. And so very often I did not have goals to work towards. I did not have really guiding principles in my life, and fitness was one of the first things that really provided that kind of structure, where I had a reason to start organizing my weeks. I had a reason to start planning ahead. I had a reason to start actually, I can actually start seeing changes over time if I stick to this routine. And, that was really powerful, and that was really one of the biggest things that helped me. So I can very much relate to this as well.
Fulfill all the realistic expectations I set for myself, I ended up walking around the grocery store that weekend feeling like this. All the while, I still look like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess just knowing I'm putting in the effort and achieving my personal consistency goals, even before it pays off visually, is enough to make me feel good. This goes for emotional confidence too. When I feel physically accomplished, I don't second guess as many decisions, and I'm overall just less self-critical. I've even been sleeping less. And that might sound bad on the surface, but I'm a huge oversleeper and can easily knock out 10 to 12 hours per night.
Definitely something that happened to me as well. I used to be somebody who had a very poor sleep schedule. Often I would sleep from maybe midnight to 6 a.m. or a bit earlier. And I really struggled to fall asleep. And, very often I'd go to bed at midnight, but I might not fall asleep for quite a long time because I was very restless. And really, fitness is kind of the thing that it actually managed my energy levels to the point where I actually started developing a normal sleeping habit, because, basically at the end of the day, I would actually be tired out. I would actually feel the need to rest and recover, versus when, I wasn't working out. I just had a lot of excess nervous energy, and, very often I would lay down in bed and I didn't want to do anything.
Being self-conscious about your body is probably just about the most human experience ever. I first started feeling it around when I hit puberty, as classmates and early viewers on YouTube began to point out just how bony I was.
Yeah, again, I started out as a kid, 140 pounds. I did some cross-country running. I was just very skinny, and that was it. I just felt very much like, man, I should be bigger. I should be stronger. I really struggled with my body image for a long time.
Particularly in my arms and elbows and wrists. So for a long time, I almost exclusively wore long sleeves and hoodies, even in the summer. Even in pools or at beaches, I would do what I could to stay mostly covered. It just made me more comfortable, and letting myself be seen shirtless anywhere was kind of rare for about a decade. And I'm still plenty bony today, but this simple confidence boost through lifting, even before seeing the kind of transformation I imagined, has helped me actually start to appreciate seeing myself and my spindly appendages. There has been a substantial decrease in the daily physical discomfort that I often didn't even realize I was experiencing. I never would have said I was someone suffering from chronic pain, and that's because ultimately I have never suffered from any chronic illness. I'm pretty good about that.
That's also very true. Basically when you're not working out, you have a very low baseline level of physical fitness, which means that basically anytime you have an unexpected demand physically in your life, it's difficult, right? And very often you develop like pains and aches and things like that. And of course, when you lift heavy, obviously you have different kinds of aches and pains, obviously recovering from exercise. But it also means that because your level of tolerance increases, then basically those small day-to-day things matter a lot less. They don't bother you as much. And so you do become a lot more resilient to the really basic stuff that again, you wouldn't think necessarily might cause chronic pain or issues, but it certainly can if you're not working out regularly.
But as of today, it seems I've almost completely resolved this pain by, I assume, training my upper back. When I first started really trying to get stronger, I was deadlifting 65 pounds, and I did so for about 2 weeks. Now, this is about half of what your average beginner male should be deadlifting. Now,
he's about to say it, but I'm also about to say it. Standards are BS. Every person is different. Don't feel bad just because you are less than the average, because again, there's no average human being. The average is a statistical creation. Nobody is average. People are better or worse than the average, and then the average is just where, the numbers even out, right? It's very normal to have people who start out. I have people starting out with injuries who can barely, they can't even deadlift with any weight. They have to really just practice the movement unweighted so that they can develop enough strength that we can start adding weight to the equation, right? There are people who literally cannot, they can't deadlift. They have to start deadlifting with 0 pounds. So, of course, 65 pounds for a deadlift, sure. Is that not, the biggest number in the world? Absolutely. But is it the smallest number in the world either? No, not at all.
Comparing yourself to others isn't necessarily all that valuable when it comes to lifting weight.
He's right. It's a personal journey, and it is not, you should not be basing your personal journey based on what's going on with everybody else. That is the easiest way to get discouraged. That is the easiest way to fall off.
And it's just crazy to me that progressively overloading one muscle group with just a few basic tools led to actual, real-world quality of life improvement. Imagine how much money I would have dished out for a pill to just fix this problem. And yeah, there's painkillers and stuff, but nothing I ever tried was strong enough to cover it up.
And there's not going to be a pill. The closest thing you have to a pill that's going to solve your problems is steroids, right? The reality is that your body adapts to the demands placed on it. You can't do that without doing the demands, right? You have to provoke the right kind of stimulus in order to get the right kind of response. And, there's no amount of taking a pill that is going to lift weights for you at the end of the day. So, yes, it is nice. We all dream that you could just take a pill and, get stronger or, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen.
The second most noticeable improvement is within my joints. My physical hobbies have often led to pain around all my bendy bits. I love my one wheel.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, one of the biggest benefits of exercise is not getting bigger and stronger. It is the fact that your everyday life feels better. Your joints become more stable, they become stronger, you become more resilient to injury, and that means that the rest of your life feels much better. Just is what it is.
I started exercising, and then I Pikachu face when I discovered exercise made me stronger. What did I think the weights were?
Yeah, that's many such cases. Many such cases.
I want to continue improving my quality of life, and in a way that's maintainable as I age. I'm genetically extremely lucky to be in the health that I am, but this fact is guaranteed to be temporary. Eventually, my muscles will atrophy, my bones are going to shrink, and my hormones are going to change. But I'd like to see how long I can preserve whatever strength and abilities I can build. And to address the video title, why haven't I actually seen gains yet? Well, in reality, this is slightly clickbaity because I have already seen some physical change in my personal side-to-side comparisons. It's just been kind of slow. My guess would be that it's the combination of my less than ideal diet, inconsistency during a few of the months that I have been exercising, or simply me having unrealistic expectations. Maybe muscle growth is just slower than I imagined, or maybe I'm actually just not pushing myself hard enough, but we'll keep exploring all of that in upcoming videos.
So, I do want to address this. This is kind of, again, why the title of this video interested me in the first place, and I think that he was smart to clickbait a little bit in that way, let's be honest. So, the reality is that for most folks, Again, provided everything is optimal, you're doing everything the right way, what's going to happen is that basically you're going to see an incredible amount of gains in like your first year or two, and then it's going to take you like another 10 years to see the same amount of gains. That just is what it is because things slow down significantly after the first few years. So you'll see pretty rapid gains in the first few years, and that's it. Now again, that's assuming that everything is optimal, and most beginners don't do anything anywhere near optimal, right? Most beginners are going to come in, maybe they're pretty inconsistent with their training, maybe they're following a bad training program, maybe they're not really eating enough protein or really managing their diet to support building additional muscle mass. And in particular, the biggest thing is that you're going to build the most muscle and strength when you are in maintenance or a slight surplus in terms of calories. And so if you're not doing that, if you're in something like maybe a slight deficit because you're trying to lose weight, for example, or whatever, then the reality is that you may not really build very much muscle mass in the short term because you're not in an ideal situation for building muscle mass. And this is kind of what happened to me when I started out. I was doing a very inconsistent program. I wasn't really managing my diet at all in terms of protein. And I was mostly just figuring like, okay, I just want to get leaner. I don't necessarily want to build muscle mass. And the end result was that I kind of stayed at 140 pounds and didn't see much difference for the first few years. Then, of course, I got a lot more dedicated about learning how to actually do things right. I started following a good program, bulked up to 170 pounds, and then up to 200 pounds, and then up to 230 pounds before cutting back. And that's where I really started seeing the biggest differences in terms of my muscle mass and my strength, because I was actually doing things that were going to support, again, building more muscle mass and strength. I'm guessing that realistically what's happened in his case, kind of like he said, he's admitting maybe he's been a little bit inconsistent at times. Certainly he's seeing some good results in terms of strength. Certainly he's probably a bit leaner. He's probably built a little bit of muscle mass, but he's probably not doing much diet-wise to support this, again, in terms of eating enough protein, eating enough calories to actually build up a bit over time. And so he is kind of stuck in that, relatively lean starting point where you don't necessarily look like you have a ton of muscle mass, even though you are making solid gains. That's not to say that that time is a waste. Obviously, from that beginning, for example, the way that I learned what not to do, and then I learned from that what to do in the future, and from there I ended up, getting better and better over time, right? So it's not necessarily like I consider the first few years of training where I saw, little to no results as a loss or as a waste necessarily, because I was learning valuable lessons that were going to be with me for the rest of my training career. And likewise, again, he's done a very good thing here. He has really focused on, really actually noticing the things that he is getting out of this in terms of managing his schedule, in terms of giving him consistency in his week, in terms of actually building some strength, in terms of actually giving him resilience to injury. Those are amazing things. Those are the reasons that everybody should be training. Everybody should be lifting weights, even if you're not necessarily trying to build any muscle mass, change your body weight at all, etc. I tell people all the time, if you could work out every single day of your life and just, gain zero muscle mass and zero strength, but basically just maintain your current level of fitness from the age of, say, 20 to the age of, say, 80, you're going to be the most jacked person in the world at the age of 80. In the long run, that's all that matters when it comes to the quality of your life. And you don't necessarily need to even train a lot to accomplish that. You can really just train a couple days a week, get in some cardio a couple times a week, and boom, you're done. You don't have to do much more than that. So I think it's amazing that he is, relatively new to this fitness journey, but he has already learned some extremely valuable lessons that I think some people take a lot longer to pick up. Okay, yeah, that's the end of the video. I think this was a great video. I think more people should see stuff like this, should develop, this kind of mentality. And, I'm excited to see where he goes on the rest of his journey. So that was all for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. Smash that notification bell, etc. All that fun stuff. And I will talk to you all next week. Have a good one.